Did you know the NFL rulebook has hidden cheat codes that even most players don't use? Today, we're breaking down the weirdest rules you never knew existed. The fair catch kick rule. Let's begin with the fair catch kick, which is the most underutilized legal football cheat code. This is how it operates. A team is permitted to make a field goal attempt right away without any snap, rush, or defensive pressure if they call a fair catch on a punt. In essence, the situation simply involves a holder and a kicker. The defense must merely watch without moving or blocking and hope he misses. What's the best part? The kick is worth 3 points if it is successful. It is entirely lawful. You can locate it in the rules. However, the majority of teams have never given it a try. You need precisely the proper circumstance, and the viewpoint must be ideal due to the uncomfortable setup. The half is over. The opponent makes a deep punt. Your kicker has a cannon, and you catch it at about 40 yards. 1976 was the last time it worked. 2019 was the last time it was attempted. Buccaneers versus Panthers. They didn't make it. However, the regulation still permits it. Every spectator in the stadium will say, "Wait, what are they doing?" if it ever occurs during a playoff game. The drop kick. A drop kick has a WWE-esque sound to it. However, the official NFL rules mention it. It's still regarded as a field goal too. This is how it operates. The kicker lets the ball fall to the ground, then kicks it on the bounce, rather than snapping and holding. This technique is akin to a unique trick shot in rugby. However, nobody does it. Why? This is due to the extreme difficulty of the task. It's not a circular football. It bounces at random. Additionally, the kick is a complete failure if the timing is off by half a second. When was the last NFL drop kick successful? Doug Flutie. 2006. In his last game, he did it at the age of 43, simply because he was able to. Prior to that, the 1940s. Theoretically, if your holder is injured and you don't have a backup, you can drop your extra point. It will be taken into account. Good luck, though, in making it look stylish. I'll be posting a lot here, by the way. Therefore, it would be quite appreciated if you liked and subscribed to the algorithm. The no leaping rule. It's challenging to block a field goal. This is especially true unless you have a 40-inch vertical leap and are 6 feet 5 inches tall. Defenders then began to do what they do. The line was crossed. The center is being cleared. Calculating the snap. Swat the kick by launching above human bodies. It looked fantastic. It was horrible. It was also too risky to continue. Thus, the NFL outlawed it in 2017. Now, even if they don't touch anyone, players who attempt to jump beyond the line of scrimmage are flagged. We refer to it as the no leaping rule. According to the league, it's for safety, to safeguard long snappers and avoid harming both the leapee and the leaper. You can, therefore, truck a blocker. A guard can be bull rushed. You're a Superman at diving. However, what happens if you cross the line as though it were a hurdle event? You will receive a penalty of 15 yards. The one-shoe rule. Let's pretend that a wide receiver is stuck at the line, breaks off a shoe, and makes a move to get out of it. Is the whistle blown by the referee? Is the performance brought to an end? No way. As long as the player's helmet is in place, they can continue participating. Wearing only one shoe, no rule states that footwear is essential. There is no penalty for not wearing socks. According to the official National Football League rulebook, cleats are solely required for traction. However, if someone leaves in the middle of a game, continue playing. The sole rule pertaining to equipment that results in the termination of play is the helmet rule. If a player removes their helmet in the middle of a play, they must halt and are prohibited from participating any further. That is for safety. However, what if a player is hobbling across the field while their sock is flying in the breeze? Completely within the law. The tuck rule. This regulation fundamentally altered the course of the National Football League's history. January 2002, a playoff game played in snowy conditions by the Patriots and the Raiders in the last moments of the fourth quarter. Tom Brady drops back to throw and is immediately tackled by Charles Woodson, who causes him to fumble the ball. The Raiders are able to regain possession of the ball. The game is finished. Isn't that so? Incorrect. The referees looked back over it. What if it was not a fumble, you could ask? This situation is due to a piece of legislation known as the tuck rule. It functioned in the following manner. If a quarterback initiates a passing motion, but then decides to tuck the ball back into his body and drops it in the process, it is still considered a forward pass rather than a fumble. This rule applies even if he is no longer attempting to throw the ball. This rule applies even if neither of the quarterback's hands is touching the ball or if the ball is punched out of bounds. An incomplete pass was considered to have occurred as long as the quarterback was in the process of tucking. The Patriots held onto the ball, forced the game to be tied. Victory was achieved during the extra period, eventually emerged victorious in the Super Bowl. The rule remained in place for 11 more years until it was ultimately removed in 2013. However, by that time, the damage had already occurred, or, depending on your team, the miracle had already transpired. Fair catch on kickoffs. I can't think of a single person who is aware of this regulation. They will continue to do this until they witness a player signaling with his hand at the 5-yard line during a kickoff. You are correct. Players are allowed to fair catch the ball at any location on the field during a kickoff. In addition to that, the ball will be positioned at the 25-yard line. It is referred to as a free catch kick return. Additionally, it was developed to minimize the risk of head injuries. What is the reasoning here? Require teams to kick the ball deep or into the end zone. This rule also allows returners to choose to end the play abruptly without the risk of being hit. It is something that fans despise. It is something that special teams coaches loathe. However, it is within the law. In addition, it brings about this peculiar image. The referee advances the ball without any delay or contact with the ground. The returner collects the ball as placed on the 10-yard line. It is not a glitch. That is what it is. It's simply a matter of policy. And like before, every time it occurs, people yell boo. The Holy Roller Rule. This rule is based on a specific play. The Raiders were involved, of course. Raiders against Chargers, 1978. With 10 seconds remaining, QB Ken Stabler is in danger of losing his job. He fumbles the ball forward. Pete Banasek, the running back, also fumbles it forward. Dave Casper, a tight end, hits it in the end zone, landing. The Raiders prevail. Is everyone observing? Perplexed. The sequence of fumbles was obviously designed to drive the ball downfield in a way that was illegal to pass. The NFL promptly revised the rule. Only the player who fumbled can now recover and move the ball in the last 2 minutes of a half or on 4th down. If it's touched by someone else, dead ball. The Holy Roller is the name given to the play. The rule is still in effect. Illegal batting. Football is a brutal sport. Football moves quickly. However, did you know that simply slapping the ball is a violation of the rules? We refer to it as illicit batting, and it sounds just like that. Whether it's a pass, a fumble, or a loose ball, a player is penalized if they purposefully bat the ball forward. The NFL seeks control over the ball's movement, not because it was cut within field goal range by someone practicing karate. Clock stop rule. When you go out of bounds, the clock doesn't always stop. Just leave the area. It sounds easy. However, the rule book makes things much more difficult. Going out of bounds in the last 5 minutes of the second half or the last 2 minutes of the first half pauses the clock until the next snap. However, when the referee spots the ball, the clock briefly stops and then resumes. Thus, while the offense is still in the huddle, a player may run to the sideline, halt the clock for about 5 seconds, and then watch it begin to tick again. It's unclear. It disrupts drills that last 2 minutes. Fans yell things like, "Why is the clock still moving?" As a result, the solution? It isn't less than 2 minutes, so you weren't saved by the sideline. The Jerry Jones Rule. AT&T Stadium, popularly known as Jerry World, was inaugurated by Jerry Jones in 2009 and boasts a massive 1.2 million pound jumbotron that hangs 90 feet above the pitch. Everyone adored it. The ball bounced off the video board like a pinball until a punter hit it during the first preseason game. Nobody was sure what to do. the NFL decided to make a rule. A down is replayed with no penalties to either team if a punt strikes an overhead scoreboard or wire. In AT&T Stadium, punts that strike the screen now result in a do-over. Act as though it never happened, and it continues to occur. The Cowboys actually have a special regulation for their ego screen, which is larger than the league would want to acknowledge. If you love this, I intend to post a lot more here in the future, so I would really appreciate it if you subscribed. Thank you for taking the time to watch.